It's one of this year's largest known cyber attacks. JP Morgan has told us just how bad a previously disclosed data breach is. It turns out 76 million households and 7 million small businesses had their data compromised. Well, what did the hackers plan to do with all the exposed data, and why does this keep happening? Joining me here to discuss on set, Steve Gillings, Telesign CEO, Scott Schober, Berkeley Varitronics Systems CEO, and our very own financial crimes reporter, Carrie Geiger. Carrie, I'll start with you. You know, we've been told that there's no evidence that the hackers stole account numbers, passwords, social security numbers. So what exactly did they get?
Well, it looks like they got customer information in terms of where they were sitting at the bank and, you know, kind of some very surface level information. But the bank is insisting that passwords and logins and account numbers and things like that weren't hacked. Now, these are the types of things, the type of information that could later down the road be discovered to be hacked into. But right now, it looks like some, you know, relatively surface information was taken.
So what do you think the goal, Scott, of these hackers might actually have been? I mean, one would assume they'd want to get at the accounts and at the money.
Sure, ultimately that would be the ideal thing, but first thing is probably phishing attacks. That's number one. That happens all the time. They want somebody to click. I got one myself this morning. I'm not even a Chase account holder, but click here, download this much, blah, 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 and it puts malicious software there, so then they can in turn get in there deeper and get more access to information. So that's probably number one. Number two would be identity theft, putting these pieces together like a puzzle so they could again do more malicious things. That's very common to do. And of course spam. That's probably third on the list of what they're probably trying to do, but they sell these.
But we know that they actually were not able to get any social security numbers, correct?
They did not. They did not get that level. They did, whoever accessed it though, it was pretty high level to get in there that far, and probably through an employee computer, most likely with a weak password, as we always talk about. That's probably how they gained access to higher levels of things remotely.
Well, Steve, what stopped them from getting all the information that they wanted?
Well, we don't know yet, and that's part of the problem, right? So as time goes by, more information comes out. So if you look at what happened in July, the thought was there was 1 million accounts that were compromised, or 1 million accounts data that was compromised, and now it's 83 million. So hopefully it was just the username or the name and contact information, and not the username, passwords, and social security numbers. And so we'll have to see what actually happens over time. And it's not uncommon to see, as more time goes by, you look at things like the eBay hack, where they said originally not that many accounts were compromised, and then over time it grew to 145 million. And so let's just see what happens, but hopefully they were stopped and didn't get too far.
Yeah, no, we might get more details, of course, emerging on all of this. You know what's interesting to me is how much this seems to be happening as of late. Is it because the media is covering it more, or are we actually seeing a real uptick in the number of hack attacks?
I see a huge uptick in the hack attacks, especially since Target breach till present. We have Home Depot, the Apple iCloud, so on and so forth, breach after breach after breach. The bad guys are getting smarter, and they're using more means to get in there and infiltrate these networks. We have a lot more that will be revealed, I'm sure, in the coming months.
Steve, if you compare today with, say, 5 years ago, do you agree that there's just much more activity on behalf of the hackers, and what needs to be done to prevent it?
So, great question. And yes, we're seeing a much, much higher level of attacks these days. It just happens every single week. So really what we're seeing now, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And I think one of the things that we on the good side need to be doing is sharing information. If you look at how the bad guys operate, the hackers operate, they are phenomenally good at collaborating with each other, sharing the best practices, and they are very, very good at that. And we, on the good side, are terrible at it, and we need to get a lot better. Large organizations need to be able to share more data with each other and to share their best practices as to how they're stopping these attacks.
You know, I've spoken to the former head of the NSA, General Alexander, about this very issue, and he's made the point that he would like to see government more involved, working together with private industry to better combat this threat. I mean, JPM, we know, Carrie, spent a lot of money trying to prevent something like this from happening, and yet it still happened.
It is, and there's you know, it's split down the middle on what's happening here. Either the hackers are getting really good, and no matter how much money you spend on defenses, they're going to get in there and get to our banking information. And the other side is there's a reactive spending going on here, where just now banks are deciding, okay, this is a really serious threat. We've put in quite a bit of money. We haven't put in nearly enough now, so we really need to fortify our walls. And I'm not really sure where we are on the spectrum on that yet.
Well, I guess it's a good business for Scott and Steve to be in these days. Thank you so much, Carrie, Scott, and Steve. Good to have you here.